Welcome, everybody, and good evening to you all. And as in a poem, A Room Full of Sisters. And I'm very proud to say that today. Welcome to Black Voice Hertfordshire Community Meeting. Our speaker tonight is Emma Koomson, and she's going to be talking on how to protect a black child in the UK. To find out more about Black Voice Hertfordshire community meetings, Black Voice lecturer, donation information and services provided, please visit our Facebook page or email blackvoicelecturer@gmail.com. Here are our house rules. Please remain muted at all times apart from when you are contributing. Please use a virtual Zoom hands up button to give notification that you would like to contribute or to write your questions comment in the chat box. Due to the specific nature of this space, please refrain from using any and all known and unknown ethnic group acronyms and words. Please wait for contribution to end before you contribute. Raised voices over a contribution is not permitted. Please do not swear or use foul language. Please place all your contact information, events, projects of your organization, etc., that you wish to share in the chat. Our social media platforms include Facebook, Pinterest, Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn under the name Black Voice Letchworth. And on Twitter, we use the username Black Voice L. Our website is www.blackvoiceletchworth.com. Our contact number is 07 581 720032, and our email address is blackvoiceletchworth@gmail.com. I will hand you over to Emma.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emma from Africa Hopes in Christ. Now, I know it sounds an odd name. What am I doing? Am I a Christian organization or am I an African organization? Well, I'm both. What we do is we empower the African community. And by that, I mean the whole African race, whether West Indian, Black American, Aborigine, or African, or Black British, or Black Europe. We seek to build a big working class, a big middle class within the Black community. That's what we do. Well, today we're talking about how to protect our youngsters. And that's why I'm very passionate about that, because I don't believe that anything will change for the Black community except we pass on our ideas, our hopes to the next generation who will take it a step further. Our parents did a lot. Kwame Nkrumah's generation, they did a lot. They passed it on to us, and we are supposed to pass it on to the next generation so that they can become even better. In fact, my daughter was the one who told me all about Black scientists. I went to school in England, and I was told that Africa was the dark continent, and we had nothing to contribute. And I believe that. But my daughter is having passed a little bit of the baton to her. She has built on it, and she's the one educating me that we have Black scientists, we have Black engineers, we have Black contributors, not just sports and music. And I never knew that. So this is why I'm passionate about the youngsters. And she, of course, will pass it on to her daughter, who will be even more stronger and even more pro-Black. So, yes, what exactly does Africa Hopes in Christ do for the Black people, you might ask? Well, we have 10 sectors that we work on. But before I go into them, let me tell you that I think and I believe passionately in business enterprise for the Black people. I think it worked brilliantly with the Asians. And I think we can learn from them. I think they built up their economic structure bit by bit with little curry shops here, little curry shops there, little grocery shops here, little grocery shops there. They supported each other. They used each other's shops. They built up each other. They have a strong sense of family. And little by little, they entered politics. Little by little, they became decision makers. They started with school governors and the mayor and different positions. But they didn't start that way. They started as little groceries, you know. And today, we can safely say that. And sorry. And today we can safely say that the curry is now the national dish, not fish and chips anymore. People, slowly by slowly, they changed people's attitudes. Slowly by slowly, we have a chancellor of the exchequer who's Indian. Slowly by slowly, we have a mayor who's Indian. And it all started with that little curry shop, that little business, that little economic power that grew and grew and grew. So I think that's something that Black people can emulate. I think it's a wonderful idea that we should build up our children to go into business, to go into enterprises, to go into that shop, to build shops, not anything fantastic. We're not asking for Olympic medals businesses. We're just asking for little businesses, grow up, empower, 1 business, 2 business, 3 business, and get the community to support us. To support it's very important, because white people or Asians will not support us, unfortunately. We have to start supporting ourselves. We have to be proud of ourselves. Nothing will change within the Black community if Black people themselves do not start it, do not empower it, do not grow it. And I sincerely believe that. We'll always be told we are the dark continent. We ourselves have to research and find out that we're not. We ourselves have to write books about Kwame Nkrumah, write books about the economist, his name, Arthur, I've forgotten his name. You know, he won the Nobel Prize. He was one of the only Black person who's won the Nobel Prize for economics. You know? He's called Arthur Lewis, I think that's his name. Forgive me if I'm wrong. He's Arthur something. Anyway, we have to teach our children that. We have to empower, and we have to start from the grassroots, from the family. Mothers have a strong part to play, because mothers are the backbone of any society. We are the ones, the women, the Black woman is the strength behind any community. And that's what I really believe. So what do I do to put these beliefs into practicality? I set up Africa Hopes in Christ, because I believe that the task is so huge, we can't do it on our own. We need God on our side. We've tried to do it on our own. We've had a lot of politicians, a lot of brilliant men, and they haven't quite made the impact we expected them to make. I believe we can do it. I believe they set a pattern for us. Marcus Garvey, all of them. They set a pattern for us. But if we do it with Christ in the vessel, we'll smile at the storm. And that's why Africa Hopes in Christ has that powerful name, Africa Hopes in Christ. And before you go on and jump on me and say, well, Christianity is white, I don't believe that. And I have reasons for that. I'm writing a book, Understanding Christianity, and it tells all about Christianity's Black roots. And I'll just give 3 of them. First of all, circumcision. That is something that a lot of that is something that is a Black culture. I'm not quite sure if it's still in the West Indies or Black Americans, but it's very strongly all over Africa. That is ours, and that's biblical. And that tells me that Abraham and all of them were Black. Another of the thing, there are about 11 of them I've gathered, but another, I'll just give you three. Another one is the way Christ taught the 12 disciples. That's very African. That's how we taught our kids before white people invaded us. Timbuktu had one teacher and about 10 students around them. That's how we learned the 12 disciples. That's very African. And then the parables that we all know. Every grandmother has knocked you in the in your ears and boxed your ears and told you about those parables. We talk in parables all the time. And Christ did that too. And that's just three of the 11 points that I have that tells me that Christianity was very African. And that's apart from the fact of what the Bible itself says: bronze arms and hair like wool. In two places, not one. Because when God says things twice, you know he means it. In that, the book of Daniel and also the book of Revelation. Just a snippet. So I believe very clearly that going back to Christianity is going back to our roots. It's because Christianity is very African, from way back Abraham right on to the 12 disciples. I believe we're all Africans. There's no way Paul would have said, no, not Paul, John the Beloved, sorry. John the Beloved would have said, would have seen a vision of a man with hair like wool and bronze arms if he himself was not bronze arms and hair like wool. Because we see God comes to us in a way that we understand, in a way we can identify. And that's how God came to him. And that's how God came to Daniel, because they were all Black. Now, I'm not making, you would have thought I was making a case for Christianity. I am in a way, but I'm mainly saying that it's not a white religion and never was. That's a myth that has all part of the destructive force against us. And it's a lie that Christianity is white. No way in any Bible text is there blonde hair, blue eyes, and shoulder length hair of that sort. But we can prove beyond all reasonable doubt that he is Black, and that is biblical, as well as all the other circumstantial evidence. Well, what do we do in Africa Hopes in Christ? In Africa Hopes in Christ, we have 10 sectors. First of all, we believe education is really important. So we give scholarships to people in Africa. And at the moment, we have two people that we've given scholarships to: a public health gentleman and a lawyer studying LLB, just finished 2-1 honors degree in education, supported by us as well, whilst he was doing his education. We're so pleased that he managed to have a 2-1 honors degree. And so those are the two scholarships that we give in Sierra Leone, West Africa. We also do schools, Pan-African and Christian schools. I've told you a little bit about the Christian bit. The Pan-African bit is about our roots, about Marcus Garvey, about Kwame Nkrumah, about Nelson Mandela, about all the Africans worldwide who have contributed in Africa, in West Indies, and in Black America. Empowering our children, Pan-Africanism, teaching our children the African way of study, the way they studied in Timbuktu, the way they studied, the first computer was African, the abacus. The first mathematical games and things were African. In Ghana, they have something called, oh, I've forgotten the name. It's a little game in Africa that is supposed to be more powerful than chess when it comes to the brain power. Yes, can anyone remind me of it, Michaela? No? Okay. It's got a name. I've forgotten it. Anyway, it's originated from Ghana, and it's a little children's game that is supposed to be more powerful than chess.
Yes, sorry. I was going to respond. I had some pop-ups on my computer out of nowhere. Yes, actually, the reason why I think it may be the game I found is actually a game I'm actually going to showcase in our Craft for Kids that we run once a month, African and Caribbean crafting for the children. It's actually made out of wood, isn't it? And it's
yes, it is a little ball.
Stones. Yes, my dad used to have it. And you said, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it all the time. I wasn't allowed to touch it. But now that I've got older, I'm going to
Jacks.
Is that
no,
what
it's not Jacks.
No.
It's not called Jacks.
No, it's not Jacks. No,
but it's similar.
Hang on. I'll find it because I did.
It's all right. We'll move on because we're recording.
Yes. No. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. I edit it, and this is all great anyway. But yes, do carry on. We'll chat at the end when you've contributed.
Yes. Okay, so the Pan-African schools are schools that bring all these ancient things that we used to do that helped our children, that helped the brain power of our children. And I'm doing it in collaboration with a gentleman called David Simon Education, and he's a qualified teacher. So he brings about the science behind studying. He brings about the different types of way children learn. Some people learn with touch, some people learn with listening, some people learn with music, some people learn with movement, some people learn in all different ways, and he's bringing about teaching the children in their different language, in their different learning language, so that they learn better, and also teaching the children in their own language. He's from the West Indies himself, and he's very passionate about teaching the children in Patois, because that's their first language, and it's a disadvantage, according to him, and confuses people, the children, when they start learning to speak Patois. They speak it very brilliantly and very well, and at the age of 5 they're plumped into school and taught a foreign language, and it's all confusion all over again. They have to learn English all over again, the Queen's English, or they're not educated. Well, education can happen in any language. Language is just a tool. It doesn't mean that you are educated if you know English. Your education is the knowledge. Once you have the knowledge, you can do it in any language, even Patois. There's nothing bad or negative about the language Patois. It's a language, it's a communication skill, and that's all it is, a communication skill. That is all English is, that is all French is, that is all Russian is, that is all German is. It's a communication skill, and no different from Yoruba, no different from Fanti, no different from Patois. And you can learn in any language. And the best way for you to learn is in your mother's language, your mother tongue. So he teaches us that. It's a new mindset, because I know a lot of Africans have the belief that if you don't know the Queen's English, you're not educated. And he's turning things around. He's teaching the children in the way that they can accept the knowledge most powerfully and most sincerely, and that will strengthen them, so that they really get the knowledge, they really get the wisdom, they really get it. And that's the important thing. It's not the language. The language is just a tool. So I admire him so much for having the guts, or for having the strength to, and for him to be a teacher as well, to turn around and say, look, we're doing things the wrong way. This is the way to unlock the genius of the African child, as he calls it. So I'm part of that, and I'm hoping to get a couple of schools under my belt. And I haven't started yet, but it's something that what we have done is to encourage other schools to take part in it, other going concern schools. And we've got 6 schools in Uganda and 2 schools in Sierra Leone doing it. And we're very happy about that progress. And David Samuels put his money where his mouth is, and he sends resources to these schools. He sends like rulers, pencils, crayons, artwork, papers, colored papers, and he also thinks about their needs. He sends sanitary pads. He sends light bulbs for battery light bulbs for those that have electricity problems. So these are these are the sort of practical things that we're doing in the schools area. Yes. Number 3, we partner with business, which I've already said is very pivotal to African survival and African empowerment. So we sent £6,000 to a rice farm, and feeding ourselves is number one. If you can't feed yourself, you can't call yourself independent. So we've just in Sierra Leone celebrated Independence Day. We've been 61 years of independence, and we still can't feed ourselves. I don't call that independence at all. You cannot be politically independent if you're not economically independent. It's a nonsense. So this is what we do. We have partnered with Alusain, the young farmer, 27-year-old young man who had a brilliant idea. He had the farm, he had the backing of his elders and his family, he had the resources. All he needed was the finance. And he still needs a lot of finance. He needs some tractors and different things like that to make his dream come really true. But we've introduced him to a Caribbean gentleman who will take him to greater heights that we can't do. So we're very proud of that, and we gave him £6,000 of our money just to start. And he needs a lot more because tractors cost about 30,000. But having said that, we went a long way from our own small resources to help. And he has started, and he's running with it now with this Caribbean gentleman. And the fourth thing that we do is, which would be mainly for the diaspora, is a prison ministry where very young people, young people are this stop and search and this criminalization of our youngsters. They talk, they say boo, they get slapped down. They express themselves, they get slapped down. They make a little mistake, they get slapped down. They go to jail for virtually no reason at all, just for being loudmouths or excited in some way. Or for daring to challenge the status quo. So we want to change all that. We want to work with the probation office in England and give these people who come out of prison, Black people who come out of prisons, an opportunity to build a business. Don't depend on looking for an employer. The minute you say prisoner or criminal, you don't get the job. No matter what they say, you won't get it. There are bound to be other people who, as far as they're concerned, are more qualified than you and who do not have that criminal tag. So, and the government cannot force them to give you the job as opposed to somebody who the companies would say is qualified and does not have the criminal tag. So it's a catch-22 for our folks. And once they've gone into prison at the age of 16, 17, gone into care, gone into prison, and then their life is over. No opportunities, all doors closed, no jobs, no bank loans for businesses, nothing. And so they go back into crime. They go back into selling drugs. They need to survive somehow. And that is the catch-22, the sad, sad catch-22 for Black folks in the diaspora. And that's why our prisons are full of Black people. You make a little mistake at 16 and they've got you. I would have loved to have talked to the policeman who was invited today, but it's all right. So we do a prison ministry, and we hope to give little loans. I mean, if you want to be a tailor, we might be able to buy a machine for you, or set you up with the threads and all the things that you need. If you want to be a plumber, we might give you the toolkit to start. We might give you some marketing advice, how to go about getting your first job, how to keep your customers happy, and things like that. So that's what we do. We work together with other organizations as well. Andre Duffus is in teaching Black people in the prison industry to do NVQ courses. So we work together with them, and we're asking him to refer, after they finish their NVQ courses, if they want to do if they want to do a business, we can support them there. We could start them off, and that's it. Our way of doing things is we're not just doing it for free, because we don't believe in just handing people out a free a get me out of jail free card. It never works that way. People have to earn it. So we take a 20%, 10%, even 5% cut of your business, and we use that money to help other people as well. It goes round and round and round. So the more people get successful in the business, the more our 10% grows, and the more we help other people in other people coming up. So that's our model for the business partnership. And number 5, we also intend to do a media company. We think that's very important, and the white race have used it brilliantly. And I believe in a negative way, but we can use it in a positive way. I think we need shows like the Cosby Show, shows like the Desmond, shows that the funny shows that show the good bits of our wit, our intelligence, and shows teenage problems, our problems up and down, what we, and there was another lovely show, I think it was called Brothers, which I liked, shows about our problems in our community, how we solve them, and it changes the mindset of people. Instead of thinking that we're all gangsters and we're all it shows that interesting shows that show us as scientists, as doctors, as dentists, Dr. Hostable, and his wife, Mrs. Hostable, was a lawyer. And the children, all their problems, all their laughter, all their hiccups, I loved it. And little Rudy, she was so cute. Yeah, she was my favorite, little Rudy. She reminds me of my granddaughter now. Anyway,
I liked Vanessa.
Vanessa, oh yes, Vanessa was a teenager.
Yeah, she was. I liked her character, and she had so much. She was a strong, positive Black woman.
Yes, she was, and her brother. I think his real name is Jamal.
Yeah, yeah, he was good. He was also very fun, and he was he was good, and he was he wanted to be a lawyer.
Wonderful, like his mother.
Yes.
Wow, his acting mother. Yeah. Wow. So these are the stereotypes that I think we should reinforce in the minds of our children. Sorry, in the minds of our children. and we intend to do a media company in the future. That's way back in the future, when we are financially strong, something on the lines of CNN, Sky. But it will be for Black people, with Black people, by Black people, a whole network just for Black people, and where people, playwrights can showcase their positive Black images. And there's a lot of talent. It's just that it just doesn't get shown. So we believe that, and we could have documentaries as well about Marcus Garvey and his relationship with Kwame Nkrumah, and the Black Star on the Ghana flag, and the history of it. It all comes from Marcus Garvey, and his idea of his shipping company was called the Black Star Shipping, and I think his newspaper and everything was called Black Star. And yes, to teach our children documentaries, films, all sorts, adverts, all geared to Black people. So that's our aim, and we think it's a lovely idea. And we were hoping to collaborate with Michaela with her museum work. We think that's brilliant too. So we're not going to do things all on our own. One size fits all. We want to work together with other Black people, and we think Michaela's museum idea is fantastic, and it will go right into the entertainment, the change in the mindset of the Black mind that we have. So that was number 5, and number 6 is that we do local charities. And the local charity, there are a lot of these big international charities, but we tend to go for the local African charities. A lot of them are doing a lot of good things within their different individual countries, and they don't get showcased. So we have one little boy called Augustine who had malformed hands when he was born, and as a result, his parents chucked him out when he was about 4 or 5 years old. And that boy was taken up by a Christian charity, a local Christian charity, young man called Zoba Stevens. Zoba is about in his mid-20s. And he set up this organization with his sister Jay-Z and Zoba Children Foundation. It was meant to help the war orphans in Sierra Leone, because Sierra Leone had a blood diamond war not too long ago. And it's helping people like Augustine, and it's placed Augustine in a foster home, and Augustine goes to school, and that boy gets 90 to 80% on every exam time. Brilliant, intelligent young man who simply had a little malformed fingers that would have ruined his life. But for that charity who picked them up, saw potential, put him in a stable home, and a stable foster mother, encouraged and looked after him financially, and he blossomed. 90, 80% on a regular basis. He's now in year 5, going on to year 6. So these are the sort of things that we can do with local charities. That is number 6. Number 7, well, number 7 is a big one. It's infrastructure. Africa needs a lot of infrastructure because in order to aid this so-called economic empowerment that we want. Otherwise, with electricity problems, with road problems, transport problems, it kills the business. So we need to invest in infrastructure, but that would be a long way down the line when we are financially strong. But that is one of the things we intend to do. And another thing is church support. Yes, I've already explained to you the importance of Christianity, and I think the more people realize that Christianity is Black and them, the more people will accept the beauty of it, the beauty of turning the other cheek as the most sensible way to reconcile differences. To me, it is so intelligent. If you go on fighting, if you go on hating, if you go on tit for tatting, it never stops, it never ends. Somebody has to say, let's stop it. Let's turn the other cheek. Let me forgive. Let me go ahead, look forward. Let me forgive. And when you look at it that way, it is the most intelligent response to our differences and our disagreements. There's a lot about the Christian faith that is so intelligent. If only people could just sit down and forget about the lies that Satan and all the others have said about it, really look down. What is this religion saying? How does it help in mankind? And it is the only religion in the world that agrees with turning the other cheek, that agrees with the doctrine of grace, that agrees with the doctrine of forgiveness. All the others say tit for tat, defend yourself. What exactly are you defending yourself from? You can't even change one speck of hair in your head, as the Lord Jesus said. Forgive, move on. And that is something that a lot of Africans find very easy. Other races don't, but Africans find it very easy to forgive and move on. I may be wrong in that, but that's my experience of my race. That we're always forgiving, we're always moving on, we're always giving the benefit of the doubt. Because it's not nice holding a grudge. It's not natural to the human being to be angry and hateful all the time. Yes, we have been wronged, but we just have to move on. Otherwise, life is not worth living. So that's another bit of the Christianity that I love, the pure intelligence of what the Lord Jesus said, especially when it comes to conflict resolution. And another thing that we do is political support. We haven't been, I must be honest, we haven't been very successful in that one. We're looking for genuine Christians who want to be in politics, who we can support, because we need to pray for our leaders and we need to have good, strong leaders. Africa is reeling from a deficit of good leadership. And that is one of our problems. Yes, we can say white people have brought us down and white people have done this and white people have done that. But you might have to agree that our politicians have contributed. Our politicians are part of the problem that we find ourselves in as a race. So, in fact, today on the news, I just heard about one from British Virgin Islands, and my heart sank, said, not another one. And as a result, the governor, who's a white gentleman, is taking over. How sad for us. But there are many Black people, many Black people with integrity, many Black people, if only they were encouraged and supported, who are men and women of integrity and who will lead Africa and lead Black America and West Indies in a good, honest, genuine, passionate way. I believe they are there. And I know some of them. And I know that a lot of them have been killed, yes, but that doesn't mean that we give up. Yes, Sangari of Burkina Faso was killed. Lumumba of Democratic Republic of Congo was killed. Yes, Mandela was sidelined. Yes, Mugabe was maligned. Yes, and he himself came down and fell into the traps. Yes. Having said so, we move on. Magufuli was also murdered. Yes, it's a dangerous game to be a politician in Africa. However, if we continue, if we support them, if we stand by them, if we do not give up, there may be a couple of African politicians who will excel, who will walk the tightrope of international diplomacy and build up their country at the same time with honesty, integrity, and become economically safe. And I think one of the people who is doing it quite well is Kagame of Rwanda, after the bloodshed that happened in Rwanda. And I think that's mainly because of the of the sad feelings that the West have of what they have done behind closed doors with that. I think, and they have given him a chance. So he's one of the few African leaders that is building up his country, and Rwanda is coming up to us to a second world country, and it's going up very fastly in economically. I think it's because of the shame and the sadness of what happened, and the fact that the Rwandans themselves were so willing to forgive and to build up their country, which, as I said, is an African trait. We have to move on and forgive. So, one of our hopes is to build up good, honest politicians and support them financially and in any way we can. And when we have the media company set up, give them a platform to talk to the people the people in their country. And another thing we do, which is number 10, we like to do is health clinics. That's the last one, health clinics. Without health, there is no future for mankind. So we're very passionate about helping with the health of the country. And in Africa, there's so much unnecessary death. And we have to start with teaching the people hygiene, teaching the people cleanliness and hygiene. And not that we didn't have it before. Yes, we've always known about hygiene, and we taught the white people what hygiene was all about in the first place. But there has been a break, we have to agree, from generation to generation during the slave trade, when 90% of our workforce was disrupted and cruelly maligned. That is what has happened. That is the sad thing that has happened to Africa. And the present generation are struggling. They're struggling health-wise, they're struggling education-wise, they're struggling career-wise, they're struggling economic-wise. And what my vision is to repair it, to go back to the days when Africa was great, when we were world leaders, when Socrates came to us, when Herodotus came to us to learn, when all these Greek philosophers learned from us, learned from Timbuktu, when we were the height of education and the height of knowledge, when we taught the Western world anesthesia and anesthetics. Yes, Africa taught the Western world anesthetics. We have a plaque in Goa Street about the first anesthetic. That's a lie. Because Africa has been practicing anesthesia for centuries. He simply learned it from us and took it for himself and told the world that he was the first anesthetic. So we have to go back. We have to go back. We have to deep into our roots. We have to build ourselves up again. And as I said, a pivotal person to do that in the family structure is the mother, the Black woman. You are very powerful. You're very strong. The world Africa depends on you, Black woman. You can change the hearts and minds of those kids. You can build them up. You can break them. You can teach them. They will learn. They will not learn from what you say. They will learn from what you do. They will learn from your example. We have to stop the negative things that are going on, the baby mothers and all that sort of thing. We have to build marriages. We have to strengthen our sons so that they don't go do what our boyfriends did to us. Marriage is a good thing. There's nothing negative about it. It is good. Two people, a man and a woman, with two different skills, two different things, two different ideas coming together and building up the family, their daughters and their sons. Yes, you won't always see eye to eye, but that's where compromise comes in. That's where turning the other cheek comes in. It's valuable not only for nations, not only for races, but also for family life. That's why I believe that all our problems start with the Black woman, the mother, and you can change things. You are powerful. You are strong. You are intelligent. Your children depend on you. The next generation depends on you. I think that's all I have to say for now. That is what Africa Hopes in Christ does in a nutshell.
Beautiful.
Well, I am silenced by the greatness of you. I really am, because for the last 2 years I've had people tell me that my space of wanting to fundraise for £5 million to open the UK's and Europe first Black History Museum, Library and School of Cultural and Creative Arts is something of a dream, something that will never happen. And to see that you as a woman standing there, one woman standing there doing all of this for Black people, it's just, it gives me such encouragement, because they're telling me that you don't exist and you're standing in front of me. And I just think what you're doing is amazing. You know, I've been told, oh gosh, you know, you want to do it yourself, you're doing it on your own. I'm never on my own. First of all, I was never on my own. I was always with Jesus, and he's sending people to me like Sonia, like Yima, to help this space exist. The space won't belong to me. I'm just the vessel that he's using to manifest it. It's for people. It's what he wants for our people, you know, to be celebrated, to be remembered, to be respected, and not just our past, our present and our future. Our future. Yes, Black history, but Black futures. We need to look at Black futures also. History is what we stand on and what we learn from and draw from continuously. But I'm just, everything that you've contributed with what you're doing for people in business, you know, for people with health, our children in prison, going into prisons, because a lot of our men are in prisons, losing themselves, you know, and they get forgotten about, because I think when people think, oh, they're in prison now, that's it. And our communities don't think of going in there and still seeing them as part of our community and going in there and looking after them. And I think what you're doing is amazing. Sonia?
Thank you.
You are the gatekeeper to the Lord, Michaela. You are the gatekeeper.
Oh,
That is what your museum is. You are the gatekeeper.
I hope so. I really hope every day to make him proud and just do my best. You know, I sometimes it is very tiring, and it is, you know, going into meetings and people are very condescending about just the whole space and not very supportive. And it's difficult. It really is. And you know, Sonia, that's why Sonia's there. You know, she does advise me continuously, but she's always there to prop me up, because I went quiet for a bit because I just had a bit of a downer, because I was, you know, obviously all of our personal lives are taking a hit right now financially, with bills going up and problems galore. I've got my own responsibilities and personal commitments to kind of do, plus BVL. And to have another woman just call me out of the blue, like Sonia did a couple of weeks ago, and ask me, are you okay? How are you doing? Was just amazing, for someone to think of me when when I think no one's thinking of me, basically. When I think, this is really tiring, I feel like this cross is just, it's the moment, what it feels like. It's the moment where Jesus was carrying the cross, and he's Jesus, he's meant to carry the cross, but along the way, who helped him?
Yes, it was oops. What's his name?
Yeah.
Gone.
Name escapes, but we know who he is. But
Yeah.
someone helped Jesus carry his cross. Do you understand?
He was a black man.
He was a black man. Yes.
Barabbas.
Yeah. Barabbas.
No, it
Barabbas?
wasn't Barabbas.
No, not Barabbas. No,
Barabbas.
Barabbas was the one on the
Cross.
yeah. He was the one that asked forgiveness.
It was
His name. Gosh, my Sunday school is gone.
yes,
Oh,
I
I'm
know.
embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
Hang on. Who was it? Oh, who was it? Come on, ladies. Who helped? Simon of Cyrene.
Simon of Cyrene.
Cyrene. Yeah, Simon of Cyrene.
That's my Bible open trying to find it.
Simon of Cyrene.
And he was the father of Alexander and Rufus.
Yeah. And Cyrene, isn't that somewhere in Ethiopia?
Yes, it is.
And you can't get round that, saying, people say to me, oh, Jesus, he was swarthy looking, kind of Greek looking, I'm like, the guy was black. Just, he was obviously black. People were black. Just get over it and just say it. It's not a big deal. Let's just move on from it. These little posts where they're like, oh, he was likely of a darker skinned, but not as dark. And the other thing I hear within churches, actually, does it really matter what color he was? And I'm like, well, yes and no. When I'm praying, I'm not thinking of the color of Jesus, no, but it does matter, because you're part of an institution that uses the color of Jesus to suppress the black people within your churches. Now, I'm not talking about every single church, but we need to be truthful and talk about that there are some church leaders out there that do, unfortunately, have bias, have institutional racism, etc., 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 and unfortunately use this whitewash of either Jesus was white or does it really matter what color he was, to make themselves inferior in their space. I've seen at white, I hear from a lot of my black friends that go to white leader led churches, and I'm sure it happens in black led churches as well, but it's very difficult for them to, quote unquote, move up the ladder. It's a struggle, because obviously with the bias, etc., and most leaders won't really acknowledge it or recognize it. They always favor, the white children to get a scholarship to go to Bible college, and I could never understand it. There's a full teenage Sunday school of black children, but only the 2 white kids, there's like 10 black kids and 2 white kids, and only the 2 white kids get scholarships to go to Bible college. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, we digress. My point was that the journey that we're all on to support our community and have these support spaces is difficult, and I found it very difficult, and I do find it very difficult. And prayer is not prayer, God is the forefront, and me praying every day is the where I get my strength. I wouldn't do any of this if it wasn't for him. So when I go into meetings, just for you guys out there listening to this recording, I do mention my faith. I do mention Jesus. When I say my faith, I do mention Jesus. I do mention my faith, because that's where all of this is manifesting from. That's where all of the blessing is coming from. So it doesn't belong to me. So I know there's some people within our community who don't have a Christian faith or not Christian or etc. But this is my contribution, and it is faith led. I there's no other strength for me to really pull from, and I'm just blessed to hear Yima today pulling from the same strength, and how she has what's the word, exploded blessings upon many. And it's just so much encouragement for me, and I can't wait to collaborate with you and hopefully to help us, get manifest and get this space manifested for our community, because it will just be amazing. Because I feel like I have all the content. It's just getting to a point where BVL can start generating an income for ourselves. With the way we're doing it presently is through our Craft for Kids, our craft group, which has been very popular. At the moment we're going through a process of kind of a small aim for a fund for this year to fundraise for, but going through a process of just trying different projects that are going to be profitable for us to sustain us, because we have our free dance classes, which is going to develop into our art school. We do have contacts with museum curators and professors, but obviously these people are well educated and well skilled, so they're going to need paying. So that means that we're going to have to generate a business for the community group so that we can run well and pay our Black artists and our Black scholars what they're worth. I'm going on again, but I just wanted to ask a few questions, if I may, Yima, of your organization.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you start this organization?
Oh, that was a long story. What made me start this organization was that I have an uncle, my father's cousin, who was the head of state of Sierra Leone. And between a short time, 1967, 68, when I was 8 years old. And within that short time, that poverty-driven country got a profit, paid all its debt, and made a small profit as a country. I think we call it the balance of payments for countrywide. So you can call it balance sheet for ordinary companies, but for the country, it's called balance of payments. And we made a profit. So within one single fiscal year, the so-called poorest country in the world made a profit when they had a good man at its leader. He didn't last very long, obviously. After there was a coup, he was treated abominably. He ended up, he died, he's dead now. He died in living in Staten Island, New York, just in the back streets of New York. Having said that, for one glorious year, and it's the only year since our independence that Sierra Leone made a profit. We have gold, we have diamonds, we have rutile, we have bauxite, we have iron ore, we have all sorts of things. We have rich equatorial forest vegetation. We should not be struggling, and we don't have to be struggling. Other countries need us rather than we need them. Our climate is brilliant. Our soil is brilliant. We have all sorts of things in that small, it's only 27,000 square miles, Sierra Leone. In that small part of Africa, we have hundreds of minerals and resources, plus rich vegetation. There is no need for it to be poor. And there are only, right now, there are only about 7 million people in Sierra Leone.
Are you okay, Yima?
Sorry. Sorry. There's only about 27 million people in that tiny area of Africa, and it is so rich. In one single year, that so-called poorest country, everyone goes around and says Sierra Leone is poor. That so-called poor country made a profit. And that told me at the age of 7, 8, that it is possible with a good leader and with people supporting him. They did not support him. As always happens, he was maligned like everybody that they do to all good leaders. As I've mentioned a few, Sangari, Lumumba, Mandela. Mandela wasn't maligned, but Mandela was broken in prison. And you have to say he didn't do anything concrete. Yes, he shook hands with white people and forgave them, but he didn't do anything concrete for his people. And that saddened me because he was such a great man and he had such great ideas before he went to prison, but he was broken. And my heart goes out to him. And then there was Mugabe, full of hope, full of ideas, full of power, and he fell down the traps too. All of them. And it saddens me that it saddened me that and as an African, I wanted to do something. I was about 12 years old in 1972 when the Lord told me, Africa hopes in Christ. Do something to lift up, empower your people. And at that time, I wanted to do accountancy because even then I knew that Africa, my group of people in Africa called the Creoles, lifted themselves up through business. We were business people, we were businessmen. And we studied in history the rise of the Creoles. We call ourselves the Creoles. The rise of the Creoles. And then we studied also the fall of the Creoles. And that was systematic, that was deliberate. That was deliberate by the English people. We studied the causes, how we fell, what happened to the next generation, how their minds were twisted, how everything went pear-shaped for the Creole community. And we've just never risen up again. It's sad what's happened to Africa, and it is systematic racism. It is planned, it is obvious, it is systematic, and it is precisely done, and it is scientifically done to us. And it is sad that we don't seem to be resisting, we don't even seem to be aware. And if you're not aware of your enemy, there is no way you're going to be able to fight him. I'm not saying that all white people are our enemies. I have a lot of white friends as well. I'm just saying the truth of it is that we have been brutalized systematically by a system of people who believe that their progress depends on our misfortune. And it's a mindset for them. I don't believe that. I believe we can all empower ourselves in this world. but they sincerely believe that bringing us down is the only way to uplift themselves up. And I understand them too. So with that knowledge and with that and from that background of my uncle being a head of state and all that, and from being involved in politics from a young age, listening to conversations, growing up in that environment, I wanted to do something for my race and for my people. And Africa Hopes in Christ was born in 1972 when I was 12 years old, and I was studying about the slave trade and everything, and I was getting ideas about the world around me and becoming aware, and I wanted to do something passionately to uplift Africans. I didn't know what then, and then I just suddenly the next year, 73, we studied the rise of the Creoles and the fall of the Creoles, and I said, bingo, a business, enterprise. And I decided to become an accountant from that point on. And I didn't quite make it. I am not a qualified accountant, but I am qualified by experience, you might say. So that's
one question. One little I don't know what you. Not so much. Is it a question? Yes, I suppose it is. Is a challenging question because I do like throwing these wobblers. Well, is it a wobbler? I don't know. So you mentioned at the beginning of your talk that you quite admire the way the Asian community have so-called built themselves.
Yeah.
By the use of commerce and business, etc. And that the Black community should really look at what they're doing to forward themselves, I suppose within British society, etc. Could I challenge that a little bit? Because I my own personal kind of development on opinion on that is that I've heard that contribution a couple of times before at meetings where we're discussing the Black community, and someone will say, a Black man or woman will say, I think we need to look at the Asian community and what they're doing because they've got Priti Patel, they've got Mayor so and so forth, and they've got people in position to aid change. I'm assuming that's what they're alluding to. But I would really like to challenge that thought, in that we as Black people, as you've mentioned, Yima, are connected to a certain specific culture, one that actually Asian culture was built and is from. And it's not that we can't learn from our friends and our family. It's great when we do. However, I do think that we need to be mindful that our culture and our race is very specific in how we interact and what we do. For example, the Asian community have a very have a dynamic around family, for example, that's very different to ours. That works for them because it's their culture. We don't have that, but what we do have is what we have. And I'm just wondering, would it be better to look at what the Black community has as far as how we interact and build ourselves within our culture specific to, and investing in that, rather than looking at other cultures that are not from ours, i.e., you're looking at an American plug socket and a British plug socket, and they're both plug sockets, but they both won't fit in the same hole. You need an American, do you know what I mean? You need the American 2 holes, and for the British one, you need the 3 holes. And I'm just wondering if it would be in our best interest to, okay, obviously, get as much as you can to empower yourself from other communities and things you see, etc. But I think there is something to be recognized, something to be said by recognizing that within the Black community, we have all we need to thrive. The issue we're not thriving is because there are many barriers stopping us, rather than thinking, oh, we should look to things that are not from us to empower us, because I believe we'll get ourselves into a state of, oh, okay, we're moving, but it's kind of a moving where we're kind of, going over potholes. And it's because the element is not smooth, because it's not a part of us. It's not, it's for a specific different culture that works well for them because it's a part of them. So it's very smooth, and they will grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. But I just think for us, we need to find a way, hone in on how we maneuver, how we move, how we interact with people, what we see as achievement, etc. Because not all Black people will see achievement within an institutional structure as achievement. That I don't think that's how we're built, because when I speak to people like yourselves and Sonia, we're not built in that way. If anything, I think Black people are hippies. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, we believe like, no paper, no pen, just one teacher, everybody gather around and you listen to the story and you remember it. And you remember it through hearing it again and again and again, repeating it again and again and again at social occasions, and that's how okay. I went to a Ghanaian event a couple of months ago for Valentine's Day, and we were doing candy, candy, the dance that every Black, there's everyone does. And no one really knew it. So everyone was getting in the front. And every time that someone made a mistake on the candy dance, someone would say, no, stop, no. And they would get in front and show how to do it. And that's how everybody in the entire 200 people were up doing candy. And that's how, and they didn't know how to do it because obviously I was on the dance floor straight away, and then the gentleman said, no, you got it wrong. And I was like, oh, okay. I stepped out of the way and I let him get involved. Then another lady came, and eventually everybody was up on the floor. And that's how we learn. That's how it's a spirit. Everything that we do is connected. It's not just a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing. We have to be literally a part of it and how we rise. And I just think maybe other cultures are not the same as us. And if we sorry, go on, Ima. Yes.
Yeah. And to answer to that, all I have to say is I didn't mean emulate everything about the Indian culture, but I do like, and I stand by that, I do like the economics and the commerce bit. I think every society needs to respect and admire business people and commerce. I think it's so necessary for respect to happen and for other races to respect you. You have to start somewhere. And I think you start to empowering yourself through respect, through and gaining respect through becoming economically viable. And that's how England did it themselves. England was called a nation of shopkeepers by the French. I think Napoleon was insulting them, but that's how they started too. That's how the Romans started. They became a city of commerce. That's how the Arab people started. The Africans started in Timbuktu and Mali. They became. It was commerce. And it's very important that our children, what they've done to us is to tell us that it's not important. You have to be a wage earner. Wage earners don't make it in this country, in this world. Unfortunately, you'll always have to bow down to a boss. I'm not saying that's anything wrong in that. For some people, my sister says she'll be a wage earner all her life, and she's happy. She's delighted with being a wage earner. She does not want to take the mantle and be a business owner. But I think the majority, that mindset that the majority of Africans have, is killing us. Lawyer, doctor, lawyer, doctor, lawyer, doctor. Without
Don't forget engineer.
the engineer, of course. Those are the things. But there's nobody doing the engineering firm. We all want to be hired by what's the man called, even Virgin?
Oh,
Branson. We want to be hired by him. There's nobody aspiring to be Richard Branson. He hires us. He uses our brains.
You're right.
You know,
You're right. You're absolutely right.
That's just my point. I'm nothing against Richard Branson. I quite like it.
Yeah.
I
There's
follow
nothing
him.
wrong with the doctors and lawyers and engineers. Obviously, anyone who
There's
is.
nothing wrong with that. As I said, my
However,
by it.
you're absolutely right. I think that I was always, from the moment I could remember my first teaching as a child, I was always trained to be a leader, and not a follower.
Yeah.
In everything that I did. So I think what you're saying is absolutely right. Right now, most of our children in our community, they're being
looking for a job.
and they can't find one.
No.
Yeah. They can't find one. And what we're having is, I think, also a cycle where they go through that, and then they go through all the concerns we've brought up here, and then they turn into leaders when they're at an age where
it's almost too late. Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to prevent.
Another thing that I think it's wrong that we do is that we don't bring our children up to admire commerce. We bring them up to almost look down on it. We want the PhDs. We want but we forget that these money men hire PhDs. They control the PhDs. They tell them what to do. They use their brains, and they tell them what to come up with. But we don't. And we're very happy when we have a PhD and when we have a business. I'm not knocking it. I wanted a PhD too, and I didn't have one. I wanted academics, and I'm not very academic.
Yeah.
But I think it squashes us, and it's negative for us. And one thing I wanted to say, one thing about the Asians that I still admire is that their thrust of wanting to be their own boss. If they study science, and they do pharmacy, they're bound to be their own pharmacists. If they study medicine, 90% of them are GPs.
But do you think the reason why that is because of their family? It's cultural. They have a different culture to ours. And that's what the black, obviously any culture, they can't just change your culture.
But you can admire what's other people's cultures, and I think is good for you and reject what is bad for you.
Yeah. I think that, okay, so I have a friend who, like with many Asian families, they live, many generations live in one household, and everyone's income gets put into a pot, and then the living expenses is managed and shared out by the grandma who's in charge of the money, etc. And that seems really lovely. However,
it's not African. It will never work.
No, that will never happen.
Maybe, and that's not what I'm advocating.
Oh yes, yeah. I know you're not. I just wanted to make I wanted to make a little joke. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I can imagine
They
that.
say the police are killing us off, but I'm thinking that system would
each
just
other in one house. I can imagine the mayhem.
yeah, that would
Like
no,
Christmas
it would
Day with
just
the family.
we're not surviving now, but I think if a system like that was implemented, it would just finish us off.
No, that's
Because
not African.
we just move
And I'm
differently.
not just
But we
suggesting
did
that at
have
all.
we did have that system back in the 60s. It was called the partner. We've forgotten.
What's that?
But you know what the partner is?
No.
No.
Shall I tell you what the partner is?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, a partner is that you'd have one person who was a banker, and you would set whatever your hand was going to be each from the beginning. You'd set, let's say each person, there's 20 people in the group, and everybody would give the banker £5, right? And each person would take a turn to get their hand. So
Oh, yeah.
so
Are you
one
talking about a susu?
Or Susu.
it call a partner. See, wherever we come from in the Afro-Caribbean diaspora, it has different names. It's called it's the same thing.
Do you know a
Yes, that
susu
is
put
African
all my
banking.
aunts and uncles through private schools?
Yes.
Yeah.
It bought many people's houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've forgotten about that.
That is a lovely system. That is the African way of banking.
So we must not forget that. We
Well,
must
part
not
of what the kids are supposed to be learning in Pan-African schools.
Yes. Well, the thing is with a susu though, Sonia, you know the black people have a thing of trust. You know, we don't trust even I'll be honest, put my hands up. I struggle with it literally daily. You know, it's so you know, a big thing, you know, within our community. I mean, from the moment you're born, I know when I was going to school, my grandma said, don't don't trust that person, their shoes aren't tied, their trousers, their shoes aren't white enough or whatever, they didn't polish their shoes, they must be, you know, a naughty child or something like that. Yeah, I just think trust is something that, you know, it's a huge thing. And I obviously coming from the Caribbean, I'm thinking, okay, that's something that we may have pulled from colonialism. But I'm just wondering, before colonialism, because my friends who come from Africa, they don't seem to have a mistrust of people straight away, like someone would have.
Yes,
No,
they
do, but it's different. It seems to be, from my perspective, a little different than Caribbeans. I think initially, okay, so I think in the first instance, my friends would unless they're very black and white. So it seems like the person would have to do something for them not to trust that person. Yes. Whereas
yes,
a Caribbean
problem. That is the. Can I come into it?
Yes,
that
yes, absolutely. Yes.
The whole slavery and the whole colonialism happened to us. We were not xenophobic enough. We were not. We handed them our children, and they ruined those children. By the time the children got to 16, 17, we realized what was, and they were disrespecting African culture. Where we wanted to correct them, it was too late. It was too late. And we saw nothing wrong with handing our children to them because they appeared to be nice. They're, you know, hate, you know, what's the word that you said? If there's no reason for me to dislike you, why should I? But by the time we got a reason to dislike them, and the ancestors realized what was happening, they were in their dotage, they were dying off, and the new generation despised African culture, despised everything African, and despised African education, despised African commerce, despised African banking, despised everything. And that is how Africa was crushed. And each generation taught the next generation to despise, and the next generation to despise. It's only coming around now, a little bit by bit, starting from Marcus Garvey's age, in, I think, Marcus Garvey, when was he? In the 30s, when people started thinking for themselves and started saying, hang on, there's not everything African is bad, you know. And then you had the 60s of all the Kwame Nkrumahs and those ones, and then the 70s, and then the 80s, and now the 2000s, you know, with my daughter's generation. Yeah. And we're getting back, we're claiming it back bit by bit. And we're learning that sometimes it's not sensible to just trust strangers. Because Africans can be very trusting. Even West Indians, you can be very trusting compared to the other races.
I think we're very forgiving.
And we are very forgiving, yeah. But we must, I think one of the things we ought to learn for the future and for our children is don't just trust people willy-nilly without testing them. I think we have to test them, and we have to see, and we can still be friends, talk to them without trusting them. I'm not saying go around malicing everybody. You could still talk to somebody and have a laugh with somebody, but not trust them. You just have to realize that this person does not have my best interest completely. And I think that is what Africans find difficult. And by Africans, I mean West Indians, Black Americans, and Africans. We all find that difficult.
And the Aborigines.
We all find that difficult to separate trust and friendship, or trust and being nice to people. You can be
Don't forget the cities in India, and there's also Black Chinese as well. Don't want to forget out anybody.
Yes, no. Oh, yes. There are Black Asians.
Yes, the CDs, because we always forget. We always and some people don't know that our diaspora, you know, they just think of obviously Africa, the Caribbean, America, maybe Latin America as well.
Yes.
However, our diaspora is literally worldwide. Yes, China.
I have one grandmother, God rest her soul, who was half Chinese.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the other grandmother was half Indian.
Wow.
So yeah.
And the American Indians, we can't forget those.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't know.
And the Arawak Indians too. The Arawak Indians. They mustn't forget them. The Arawaks in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Another thing in my book is how the world became divided into races. And I got this from a white lady, a white scientist, who says it was mainly as people, as you know, Africa is the cradle of civilization, is where it all started, and that is scientifically as well as biblically correct. And as we spread out from the Garden of Eden and onwards to worldwide, we became lighter because of diet and climate. We're all really one race, one human being. And there's no real difference, really, apart from the fact that we lost our melanin, the lighter we became as we went away from the equator.
Yes, true.
And this is not from a Black person, this is from a white lady scientist.
I recently was told something very interesting, and I haven't had the opportunity to investigate. So if it is incorrect, please do let me know. I was told about a certain, I did write it down, and the person did give it to me. It was a certain bone that was used by Black women in Africa. Now, this bone was used to measure their menstrual cycle. And lo and behold, the system in which they used to measure their menstrual cycle with this bone is actually the first ever arithmetic system, which is based on the system that built the pyramids, castles, actually almost all the mathematics we use today.
Wow.
So, yes. And I have to share this story because it was pretty amazing. So at work, someone new had joined, and they were asking questions about me, just getting to know, and I just thought it was bantering, passing the time. And they found out that I was into Black history. So the next question was, can you tell me something? Can you tell me 3 things about Black history? Which I did, and he found that very interesting. And he said, tomorrow I'm going to come into, when I see you, I'm going to tell you one thing that you've never heard about Black history. And he was a white young male. And I said, okay, great. Really not expecting anything. I thought he was just being kind, and I wouldn't have bothered if he would have forgotten the other day, because I thought he was just being kind. And he came in the other day and told me that story. Wow. And I thought, wow, is there something? I don't know if you guys can investigate it, because I haven't had time, because I've literally come from work and on meeting. But it's something bone, and it's based. It was created by African women. He did write it down for me, but I'm searching in my little bag for.
Tell me, and I'll tell David Simon, because he's very good. He's a teacher himself.
Yes,
and he's very good into history and science and all these things. And he's the one doing the school.
Yes. Please, and I will be able to share it. Because I thought it was super interesting. Because he was more on the angle was like, his angle was like, women invented maths, because he saw himself as a bit of a feminist. So he said,
okay.
Yeah, and he has a couple of friends that's derived from Africa, etc. And he's very interested in music, etc. from that. And he was very interested. He was very interested, and he said it was really sad that we're not taught this at school. And he wanted to know how he can help with BVL and giving me ideas about what to do to grow our following and our outreach, etc. And it was just really nice. It was kind of the first time I've told someone that I'm interested in Black history, and they've done something active. Because this space that we've created, we talk about the issues, then we talk about the solutions or devise the solutions, then we do the action, and then we make sure we're productive on those actions. They're not just, oh, we're going to do an event, and it was a nice event, but the aim of the event didn't manifest, so it's all about productivity on initiatives that we're all doing. And it was just nice to have a conversation that had that within 24 hours.
Wonderful.
Yeah. But I'd
like to hear what the bone is, and I will run it through today.
I will, because he had some other information as well. So I will find out from him, and I'll do a post online and I'll send it over to you. But it was a very, very interesting chat, and I was like, right, are you sure? So yep. An African woman invented mathematics through trying to work out and just not just maths, but actually how knowing how the world works, etc. Astronomy, etc. Realizing, because obviously they realized that their cycles was tied to the moon. So to just function, they weren't thinking, oh, I'm going to invent mathematics. They were just thinking, I need to, I don't know, look after the baby, look after husband, get food, So they just were measuring it so they will know when their next cycle would be. And that's how, and that system that they devised was used to work out weather, constellations in the sky and stars, the building of things, etc. So that's what he shared, and I haven't had an opportunity to research it, I have to say that. But I thought the fact that he was willing to come 24 hours and share something amazing with me about my culture when, it's not his culture. I thought that was amazing because it's the first person I've ever met that's ever done that, who's
Wonderful.
been white. So I thought it's still a story to share. Yes. So I just wanted to just share with just more on towards our kids and child Q. I was expecting a police officer to show up tonight with the commissioner tonight to discuss about how parents can protect their children in institution. Just bear with me one moment. Yeah, sorry. Yes. So I'm sure we all know about the incident with Chalky that's been reported. Obviously, it's still being investigated, so we can't talk much regarding. But the kind of the elements of what actually happened factually is public knowledge now. It's been said in Parliament. It's on the news. And I won't go into the detail. It's all on our page and it's in the press. But I just wanted to reach out to institutions and the police to inform them of any way that they are supporting the Black community within this. And I'm going to take the fact that no one showed up or noted to me that they're coming or even sent me any information as it comes across as if you don't care. And I have to say that. I'm not saying you don't care, but I'm saying when you don't show up to meetings like this, or when the community has to contact you rather than you contacting them, seeing something as horrific like that happen and not thinking, oh, you know what I'm going to do, I'm going to contact the local Black leaders and empower them with information so they can their families will know what their rights are. Because yes, you have a system, but you can't follow every police officer. Someone's going to do something wrong. So you need the community to work with you in partnership so that we could identify these wrongdoers and make sure that they're not a part of our system hurting our society. And it just seems like when there isn't this when you don't take the initiative to see how you can support our community and how stories like this really affect us, it comes across like you don't care. It does. I mean, this is just, we are a community that's struggling. We're telling you we're struggling. And these stories come out and you don't tell us things like, I had to find out from Sonia that there's apparently a card that police sections or staff give out for, not staff, what
Know your rights.
Branches. Yes, know your rights. Why don't we know that? That they give them out for free and stop and search cards.
Yeah,
what to expect. I want our parents to know. Parents should know this because their children will be more likely to be pulled over by police and arrested. So their children need to know what their rights are. Parents need to know what their rights are and how to keep safe. So you're the police. Recognize there's an issue. You're dealing with the issue of the police doing what certain police officers doing what they're doing. However, you're not really supporting our community. You're not coming to us and saying, oh, I've just heard about Okay. If you really care about somebody, okay, you're living on the same street as them, okay, and you've just found out their father has died or their child has died in the most horrific way, send over some food, you know, visit, say I'm sorry for your loss, something, anything. And now I'm just telling you a scenario here. Yeah. When you don't do anything and you're just like, oh, I know she's, it's like someone walking into a room and sharing that they've lost something, they've lost their child, they've lost their baby, and everyone else is crowding around them, they're praying on them, they're giving them love, they're saying, if you need anything, da, 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 and you're sitting in the corner having a cup of tea and biscuit, saying, oh, I don't really know them, so I'm not going to go over. That's how that's what I'm trying to show. And I know some may say, well, we're not doing it deliberately, or we don't mean to be an unfeeling, but get active. If you're really, seeing that these things that are happening are incorrect for our society and we want these systems to work for everybody, then when it starts hurting a community, we all need to band together to support. If there was someone out there or people out there abusing disabled people on the street, you would be on it. You would be on it. Making sure you have connections with the local disability groups, making sure they have your contact number, knowing how they can report these crimes, etc. I don't see you doing it for our community. When you don't do it, it comes across as if you don't care. So start doing it. That's my contribution. I just wanted to say that. You haven't shown up tonight. And again, that again comes across as what I just said. But I just think you should note that, because maybe it probably was done unintentionally or you forgot. I get it. That does happen. And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just noting to you that whoever's running your marketing department, this is not doing great for you guys. And I think you can do better. I think, even if you're not going to show up to meetings, I think you should just say, oh, I know about the meeting and I know what's happening. We're going to send all the information virtually. We can't be there tonight. Something, anything. Or just, you know what? Sorry, it's not an area we can help with. Even if it's a no, at least it's something. At least you've taken the time to contact. I contacted the office for the commissioner and they kindly responded wonderfully. And said someone will be in contact with us, but they haven't been in contact. I'm sure they will be in contact soon. No, I'm not sure they'll be in contact soon. I'm lying. I hope they will be in contact soon. But I have to say it, because if I don't share it with you, you're going to be making the same mistakes again and again and wondering why you're hitting a wall with the Black community. And things like this is what is building your wall. You can't wait till a guy in another country dies, till the whole world protests, till you show up to a meeting and then we don't see you for 2 years. It can't. It's got to be consistent. We're building a relationship. You've asked me to marry you, but where's the wedding? Where's the wedding? I'm waiting at the altar and I have no groom. But I share enough, but there. Sonia, do you have any? Sorry.
I would like to have talked to him about the promotion business and the prisoners, and it's sad that he didn't turn up.
Mm.
Yeah, I was expecting a show. I just because I know they follow our page. I hope they follow our page because it's been here before. And I just, even if you don't show up, just to send the information, because what I asked for was just any information to support parents, just a link even to somewhere on their website where parents can find out what their rights are. How to if you see a police officer like I did doing something that you think may be illegal, how to report it.
Well, I didn't know about the card Know Your Rights. I'd like to have that.
Yeah, I want to have it too. Yeah,
I'd like to know my rights if I'm stopped. And the stop and search happens to so many of us.
Yeah, I
I'm
only
not
found
sure
that
it
out from
happened to me
Sonia.
yet, to be
Yeah,
honest. But
yeah,
I've understood that it happens to a lot of people, especially our boys and men.
yeah, yeah. Well, I only found it out from Sonia, and I was excited and shocked at the same time that it existed. And Sonia only knows, well, not only knows, probably knew before then, but Sonia does work with the police in her area, so she knows that it does exist. So she said to me to ask my local police or whoever the local commissioner to see if they will send me a link to some so I could send other parents link to it. But I've got no links
Well,
and no
if I
notification
were
when
you, my fella, I would follow up with him, ask him for an explanation, just as no harassment or anything, just a pleasant explanation, and invite him another time.
yeah, oh gosh, yeah. I mean, he's welcome anytime. It's an open invitation, you know. I know our commissioner isn't the most politically correct, but you know, I'd rather someone that's going to be truthful, you
Yeah,
know. You know, I have to say, this is just me personally. I'm not speaking for the Black community here, but I have to say that I was impressed that he showed up on his own to our meeting without being briefed. Yes, he was like a bull in a china shop a little bit, with respect, David. Okay. But he showed up on his own. He showed up on his own, and did what he said, which was to listen. He didn't agree with most of the stuff, and he did say he didn't agree, which I appreciated. You know, it would have been nice if he said he agreed with everything, but he didn't. But he was truthful. He was who he was, and it wasn't beneficial to us. But I like the fact that that was his truth. So
yeah,
I rather that than someone who's hiding who they are and pretending that, you know, they're all Black Lives Matter and all for us and all that, and then before they're stabbing us in our back. At least
yeah,
we're seeing. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
You know, he is who he is, and you know, and he comes and he's willing to listen, because that's the duties of his job, to listen to community, obviously.
yeah.
But you know, he does believe that stop and search is beneficial for our community. I don't as far as I'm aware, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, he does believe that it benefits us as a whole. Again, I don't share that viewpoint, and nor does the Black community. So I don't know what's happening with, you know, with our contribution last year when we contributed, that, you know, this is hurting. How you're doing it is hurting our community. I don't know how that's going to happen, because actually it's not just Hertfordshire that this is happening, it's actually all over the country. So it's something that's conscious. I have to say, I don't know, but it seems like it is. um but yeah, I just want, it would be nice if the police found a way to support families, and not fun days. Don't do a fun day, please. I think it's really silly when police do fun days. You know, it's just, you know, bouncy castle and all of that. It's just, no. What we need is actually information, practical stuff. Everybody loves a hot dog and a hamburger and a lovely bouncy castle with a bit of music and a DJ. That's great, but where our community is really suffering here, and you have a lot of weaknesses within your institution that you need to solve, and just use us to solve them. Let's protect our children. But yeah, that's me.
That was,
Well said, Michaela.
that was powerful. That was powerful. That was powerful. We've got to stand up for our children.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have to stand up, and we have at times to fight, not physically, because a pen is mightier than the sword. So our fighting is on paper. We are the educators. We are the teachers. So our knowledge, right, which is learnt from our grandmothers, our mothers, our aunts, we instill onto our children, our sons, our granddaughters, our grandsons, our daughter-in-laws, our son-in-laws. We tell them this is not acceptable. And what happened to child Q? It makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
And I have sent a letter to Ofsted, the Metropolitan Police, and the Education Minister, the Secretary of State for Education. Because that's not acceptable. That's stereotyping. And that is not acceptable at all. Okay.
Yima, what were your feelings about this with child Q? How did it affect you, or did it?
It did. I was disgusted that they did that to an innocent child who was really defenseless, and they do it all the time. I know they do it to me as an adult woman, and I know they do it to grown men and things like that. But a 14-year-old innocent kid who has never harmed anybody, and I think it's even more despicable that the teachers allowed it, and the teachers were the one that called them. I think the whole I'm just disgusted. And the fact that the lady, the commissioner lady in Metropolitan Police is backing them up,
Cracking
and
the bricks. Yeah.
she's practically backing them up and refusing to apologize. And this particular woman has done that countlessly. She has a system that she never. I think she feels that it's weakness from her part to admit to a fault, but I think it's strength. I think it's not weakness at all, to admit when you've gone wrong and to correct yourself. And she has a tendency of backing up stereotypes, backing up wrong things, and refusing to apologize and refusing to accept that she's in the wrong, or her policemen are in the wrong at all. And she's done it several times, and no different for child Q. And I think it's despicable. I think she should be sacked. I think she should resign. And I think she herself leads the culture. As a leader, she leads the culture of what is happening, for things that are happening against child Q and the rest of us. I'm sorry to have to be blunt, but that's how I feel. I think it comes from the top. And I think the people at the bottom are simply following, and they're hiring the right people with the right mindset as far as they're concerned, who will perpetuate the evil that they do. I'm sorry to be so strong. I feel very strongly about it, and I feel so sad for that poor 14-year-old. But and I'm sure that there have been others 14-year-olds and younger who we never heard about, and whose parents said, "Oh, don't forget about it, forgive and forget," because that's how what Africans do. It just happens that this particular one went worldwide.
I was just thinking, Yima and Sonia, what happened before smartphones?
I know.
Yeah.
Because
We
all
swept
of
it under
this.
the carpet.
Say that again.
We swept it under the carpet.
Yeah. I'm just thinking we all have smartphones now, but this behavior is institutional. So it's been going on for years and years, maybe definitely centuries.
Definitely centuries.
Definitely centuries. I recently did a post on how slaves were, a few ways of how slaves were tortured. And TikTok barred the video, saying it was, grotesque, whatever it was. And I reported it. I got it to be what do they call it?
Reinstated.
Yeah. Because I won't let them cut out that's Black history. That's a part of our history and it's a part of your history.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if what you did looks really gross, but it was really gross.
Same.
That's why we need to learn from it. So we don't
Yeah.
do it again. Can't forget about it.
Totally.
If we sweep it under the carpet,
They
then
do it again.
yeah, do it again. You think it's okay. You know, that's why, you know, some of like young people say, oh, why do we have to learn about Hitler? Why do we have to learn about the Nazis? It was so boring learning about that. Is so because it was so horrific. We've got to teach it so that people remember not to do that. Don't do it. You know, that's why history is so important. And one thing, that's why you don't ever teach in history why history is important. It's so very important. They just teach it.
I think what should send a message with Child Q is that the teacher responsible should be sacked and not allowed to teach. She could go to another profession if she likes. And I think the police people are supposed to be should be sacked, and I think they should be fined. I think some
If I'm honest with you,
message should come out of this. I think they should be sacked and that should be fined. And I think the commissioner of police should resign.
oh yes, absolutely. I mean, a 14-year-old girl is definitely in the group of the most vulnerable of our society. The ones our army, our people, whoever in defense, go out there to defend, our children. They're the most protected in any society. Okay. So if you can't keep them safe, you know, and you've been given governmental powers or extended powers to protect the most vulnerable in our society, then that's not the position for you. Find another one and let someone who can do that step into it. That's how I feel.
But it looks as if it's going to be swept under the carpet. It's going to be another, we apologize, we apologize, we apologize.
No, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. No. Apology accepted, you're forgiven. It's still not good enough. Why isn't it good enough? Because it shouldn't have happened in the first place.
And
it's
no
not just
action has been taken.
Yeah, it's not. People are looking at the action of the police officers, what they did as the main thing here. However, you've got to think that these police officers felt confident to do it in really a public area with many people in a safe space where that child should be protected. Two institutions come together, the education system and the police system come together, and our child is not protected.
Yeah.
In two very, very well-funded, powerful institutions. Why is that? So the whole system needs to be looked at of why and how that happened. It's not just, oh, a couple of police officers didn't really pay attention to their training and did really badly that day. Let's just, you know, fire them, you know, fine them. No, it's not. Do that as well, obviously. Yeah. But we also need to look at the system of why they felt comfortable to do that. Why? You know, slavery was a system. You know, it was gross, it was gruesome. However, it benefited the people around them. You know, the women, the children. It gave women an opportunity for business and commerce because they were given a slave very young that they could potentially rent out to another family and make money in a world where they didn't have to make money. So the white woman, you know, she having a slave was business for her. If she didn't benefit from the system, if it was just the men, slavery would not have been able to be supported because they needed to find a way, a system where both men and women and children benefited.
Right,
And the reason it ended was because the benefit started to decrease. It's late, too many uprisings. You know, they're like, oh, you know what? This is a long edge. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Let us get a smartphone. We need a smartphone. we can't take the archaic. But I'll go over to Sonia.
But it's time now to say good night. Au revoir. So I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you all for attending. Special thanks to our guest speaker, Emma. And Black Voice Hertfordshire community meeting strongly encourages a solution, action, productivity on issues raised. So if you've been delegated a task, please action. The minutes and recordings of this meeting will be sent to you, provided we have your email address. We look forward to seeing you in the next meeting in a month's time. Thank you all. Good night. God bless you all.
Good night to everybody. Good night. Thank you, Yima. Thank you, Sonia. Night, night. Bye.